This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of Splinter the Mind's Eye. This is the first ever Star Wars novel to release, and was intended as a potential sequel to the first Star Wars film if that film was a failure. And being fully honest, this book isn't that good. It is just intended as I said, it's intended as a low budget sequel, and it feels like that. It really takes all the interesting things from Star Wars and just kind of throws it out the window where they are just stuck on one planet for basically the entire movie or book. Well, it'd be turned into a movie if it was made into a movie, but they're stuck on this one planet of Mimban for the entire book, and more or less it's just a bunch of like stuff jumping out in their way, slowing them down from getting to the final goal, which is a kyber crystal, spelled really different than how kyber crystal is spelled normally, and instead of just being like a lightsaber crystal, it is a crystal that makes a force sensitive more powerful. I don't know, this book just doesn't really feel like it fits into Star Wars with what it is today. Even if you ignore the fact that yes, it goes into the relationship between Luke and Leia because they didn't know Harrison Ford was going to return for episode 5 at the time, so he wasn't written into this book. So, yeah, it's honestly, it's just, it's not great. It doesn't really have any compelling characters. Leia just doesn't feel like the strong character she was in A New Hope or in the other movies. And it feels like she's just the typical princess character, the one who doesn't want to get dirty and doesn't understand, how to live like a normal person. And it's just sort of the opposite of the, kind of like essentially, down to earth princess that's in the Star Wars movies, and the one who is a leader of the rebellion because she understands the people and their struggles. In this, it just feels like there's so many scenes where she's weak, and there's this entire scene where it's like she can't swim, and it's just like it just feels pointless and trying to make her look just a little weaker. And yeah, it's really nothing's too great about it. It's more or less just a series of side quests happening until they reach the Kyber crystal, and the only really interesting thing in this is Darth Vader going and confronting Luke. And it's not even as interesting as what Empire Strikes Back is because at this point Vader isn't set as Luke's father, so Vader's just attacking him. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill you, approach you to the Death Star," and it just takes out just all the intrigue that you really have, and I'm just so glad this wasn't made into, well, what would we consider episode 5 now, but it probably went to an episode 2 of 2 if the first Star Wars movie bombed and this came out, because honestly, it would not have made a good sequel as a movie, and it just really wasn't a compelling read, as I said. But yeah, the only reason I haven't read this was I am in a Star Wars Legends book club, and this was the book that was voted on. So I did read through it, but I said, yeah, it's just a rough read, and it just was not entertaining for me personally. I feel like maybe if we just didn't have all this history of Star Wars and maybe we looked at it in a vacuum, maybe it could be enjoyable, but just looking at what we got and how it just feels like it doesn't really get any of the characters, it's just so disappointing. And even though it was the first, it's definitely one of the worst because Honestly, one of the things with the Disney novels is, while some of them could be really good, most of them are restricted to not being able to do anything major in them, and that feels like such a small restriction to this where it just feels like it's trying to be as low budget as possible, even though this is just a book, which and essentially a screenplay would have been based off of this. But yeah, honestly, I want to know what you think. I mean, the one thing I could say is positive about it is this is an extremely easy read, and it took me like 3 or 4 days to read through it, and maybe like 2 to 2.5 hours at the most, because it is just so easy to read. But so glad I'm done with it, and I can move on to the book I really want to be on, which is Legacy of the Forest Betrayal. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.